Okay guys, it is Krahmon back, and I'm back with another MTGA deck review. This deck I actually built earlier this week and completely forgot about it. And this one is called RGB, just simply because it is red, green, and black. It's pretty misleading. I only run 2 copies of one card in the main deck, and 3 copies of another card in the sideboard that required black. So really it's just a splash of black. This is mainly a red-green deck. And up first for the deck list is we have the Fanatical Firebrand. This is a very fun little goblin. I mean, it's a 1 cost, 1/1 haste, so if you get turn 1 drop with it, you can attack. Even if you go first, so that's really nice. It also has tap and sacrifice it to deal 1 damage to any target. This is a great early game removal card as well. Definitely fun. There are some neat little tricks you can do with it. You can block with it, then tap and sacrifice it to deal an additional damage to a creature. Say it's fighting a 2/2 or anything with a 2 toughness. You can burn it that way. Okay, and next up we have Shock, which is a 1 red instant which deals 2 damage to any target. It's another great early game removal. And later games, it can turn into removal by damage dealt and various other things. Up next we have the Llanowar Elves, classic for mana ramping, which this deck definitely wants. So always solid for green. And it right now it is, my favorite combo for green right now is Llanowar Elves, Elvish Rejuvenator, Jadelight Ranger, and Steel Leaf Champion. I mean, with these 4 cards, green deck can really excel. There are a few others you can throw in to really speed it up, but I didn't want to do too much green because it would really hurt the mana fixing problems later. However, the big combo I'm using, like with my main green deck right now, is it's a turn 1 forest, tap it, play Llanowar Elves, turn 2, drop a second forest, play a Steel Leaf Champion. On turn 2, this becomes instant heat, instant aggro, but it also it can make newer players kind of freak out and make them make some mistakes. The big thing about this one is the fact that it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Early game, this thing is virtually unstoppable outside of removal or bounce, which is still removal. So, awesome card for this combos. Alright, and up next, after the Llanowar Elves, we have the Goblin Instigator. Really fun little red card. It's 2 cost, 1/1 Goblin Rogue, and when it enters the battlefield, you create a 1/1 red Goblin creature token. So, for 2 mana, you get 2 creatures. Really nice early game. Help swarm, help block. You can have some fun with it. Up next, we have Lightning Strike for more removal, and also for player damage or for planeswalker damage as well. And this is just a 2 cost instant 3 damage to any target. Up next, the Elvish Rejuvenator, another one of my favorite green cards right now. This is a 3 cost 1/1 Elf Druid, and as it enters the battlefield, you may look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. This thing helps you get any land. It can be absolutely any land, and it will put it into play tapped. So any dual lands like I have down here, like the Foul Orchard or Timber Gorge, automatically hits play. I don't waste a land drop for a turn. I don't waste a draw for that card either because it's pulling it off the deck. So And then it becomes a very effective speed bump should somebody start attacking. Just a solid card for excelling, for mana ramping, for mana fixing as well, because it can get you those dual lands that you have to wait an additional turn to use. Well, if you've already used your land drop and you play this and you reveal one, or you look at the top 5 and you find, oh, I have a tapped land, essentially. You put it into play tapped anyway from this effect, so you're not wasting a turn for it. Still nets you that extra mana, so very solid. Love using it. Right now, this deck is also running Gift of Paradise, and this is a 3-cost enchantment aura. Enchant land. Whenever Gift of Paradise enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life, and the enchanted land has tap, add 2 mana of any one color. This is for fixing, for ramping. You can have a little bit of fun with that. Plus, the extra life really can help. Up next, we have the Jadelight Ranger. One of my favorite green cards right now, regardless of how the deck works or what it requires. I almost always run this in a green deck. And this one is a 3-cost 2/1 Merfolk Scout. When it enters the battlefield, it explores, then it explores again. This can get you 2 additional land cards if things go that way into your hand. This can get you just essentially a turn 2 if you're mana ramping with Llanowar, a turn 2 4/3. So I mean, it depends on how it works. Either way, you're gaining something, so it's really nice. Next, oh yes, to the Explorer, a little bit more on the Explorer, sorry. You reveal the top card of your library, put that card into your hand if it's a land, otherwise put a 1/1 counter on this creature, then put the card back, or put it into your graveyard. So this, if you see a card that's not going to help you against the situation you're dealing with now, just dump it to the grave, and you don't have to worry. You get a new draw. Really solid. Up next is the Still Leaf Champion, which I was talking about earlier. Very, very potent, very fun. And that's about all I really need to say about that card. Up next, we have the Draconic Disciple. Sorry, misspeaking here. And this is a 3-cost 2/2 Human Shaman, which you can tap for 1 mana of any color. Good mana fixer, good ramping, and then late game you can pay 7 colorless and tap it and sacrifice it to create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. Can be handy late game to drop that token. Very nice for that. Up next, we have the Demanding Dragon. Now, I absolutely love cards like this that allow you to, or that make you, that make your opponent make a choice, because then it's a psychological advantage. Be like, okay, so here's my Demanding Dragon. Well, as it enters the battlefield, yeah, you can, it deals 5 damage to a target opponent unless they sacrifice a creature. It's like, well, do I take the 5 damage from the burn, or do I sack a creature? Oh wait, do I only have 1 flyer? Oh dear God, what am I gonna do? I love making my opponents make the choices, so it's really fun. And then up next we have Vaevictis Asmadi, the Dire. And this is a 3-cost 6/6, 6-cost 6/6 legendary creature, Elder Dragon, with flying. And whenever it attacks, for each player, choose target permanent that player controls. Those players sacrifice those permanents. Each player who sacrificed a permanent this way reveals the top card of the library, then puts it onto the battlefield if it's a permanent card. Can be really, really potent, really good, and really can mess with everything in play. And next we have the Banefire, Of course, I'm going to run this in a red deck that mana ramps. Because this is great for creature removal. This is great for player damage. It's just a really fun spell. Again, though, I used to run 3s and 4s of most of the cards I ran in a deck, but that really limits the different options you can put in a deck by doing so. It used to be playset or nothing with my mentality, and it got me in trouble a lot of times. But now, this is, again, really fun card, really good. Deals X damage to any target, and if X is 5 or more, the spell can't be countered and the damage can't be prevented. So, no mitigation, no countering. Really fun. Up next are the lands. We have 2 swamp, 9 mountains, 9 forests, 2 foul orchard, 4 black or green, and 2 timber gorge for red or green. And now to the sideboard. As you can see, we've got 3 lava coils, and that's for more creature removal if we need it. And then we have 3 find and finalities. This one, if you need to get creatures back from your graveyard a lot more, you're running into removal. Very nice to sideboard in. And also, don't discount the finality part. That is also great for removal if you're finding that, I've got a 3/3 creature right now, or a couple that are only 3 power and 3 toughness, or vice versa, whichever. And you're like, but they're swarming me. This is a really good kill for some token combos. You may put 2 +1/+1 counters on a creature you control, then all creatures get -4/-4 till the end of turn. This can wipe your board out too, but sometimes that is worth the price of admission. Sometimes it's just way better to wipe the board out than deal with what's going on. Up next, we have Sarkhan Fireblood. This is a 3-cost, 3 loyalty Sarkhan Planeswalker. For +1, you may discard a card if you do draw a card. +1, you add 2 mana of any combination of colors. Spend this only to cast dragon spells. And -7, create 4 5/5 red dragon creature tokens with flying. I'm going to say this up front about all the planeswalkers, because every planeswalker in this deck are in the sideboard. And they are there simply for, mainly when I run a planeswalker now, it is pure aggro control. Because almost immediately upon playing any planeswalker, everybody's aggro suddenly goes towards that planeswalker. So if I'm getting hammered and I've been holding back my planeswalker, I will drop the planeswalker just to get a little bit of a respite so that I'm not getting damaged and I can regroup. Because any planeswalker is instant aggro. Alright, next we have an additional Elvish Rejuvenator in case I feel the need to run a 4th one. Sometimes I feel like if I can see 2 of them early game, I can really ramp up. So if I feel like I'm getting not as solid of flow as I'm wanting, I will run an additional Rejuvenator. Next we have Domri Chaosbringer. This is a 4-cost, 5 loyalty planeswalker. For +1, you add 1 red or green to your mana pool. If it's been on a creature spell, it gains Riot, which Riot means a creature with Riot enters the battlefield with your choice of a +1/+1 counter or haste. This can be really good. If I had an additional one, I would probably main deck both of these, just because it's actually really fun. Next, for -3, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal up to 2 creature cards from among them and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This is sifting, which is really good for any deck. And this deck is going to be, or this deck is pretty heavy on creatures, and most decks in general work better with more creatures than they used to. It used to be you'd had to have an exact, it was almost an exact science on how many non-creature spells to creature spells to lands in a deck. It's getting to the point where you can do about anything. In fact, at one point I made a deck that had no lands, but that's neither here nor there, and that's a long time ago. The main reason this card is in here is for the aggro grab for seriousness. Because if this gets to 8 loyalty, you can spend that 8 loyalty to get an emblem with, at the beginning of each end step, create a 4/4 red and green beast creature token with trample. Instant 4/4 every turn can become quite troublesome, so he's going to grab a lot of aggro really quick, which is exactly what I want him to do. And the same goes for Vivien Reid. This one gets... I've not seen any Planeswalker I've played has not gained as much aggro as this card. I'm sorry, excuse me. 5 cost, 5 loyalty, Planeswalker. For +1, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or land card from among them and put them into your hand. And put the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. Another Sifter, very nice. For -3 loyalty, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. I will not lie, when I do run Vivien Reid main board and use her frequently, I use that effect quite a bit for removal and control. But if you can get her to 8 loyalty, for -8 loyalty, you get an emblem with creatures you control get +2/+2, have vigilance, trample, and indestructible. That is the main reason this card gets so much aggro. Nobody wants to see you get that emblem, except you. So she grabs tons of aggro, which is great for taking the heat off of you. Up next, we have Sarkhan Dragonsoul. This is a 6 cost, 5 loyalty Planeswalker. For +2, it deals 1 damage to each opponent and each creature your opponents control. This is a good low toughness creature burn and control. Can be a field wipe for some people, if it depends on what's going on. And then for -3, it deals 4 damage to target player or Planeswalker. Again, just nice to deal damage or remove a Planeswalker. Always nice to have the option. And then for -9, search your library for any number of dragon creature cards, put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Honestly, I don't ever use him in this deck for that reason. I have almost no dragons in my deck. I have 4 total dragons, so only 3 of which could be on the field at the same time. So I don't really ever use it for that. This is literally primarily aggro grab. Plus, I mean, if you get him on that first turn, you usually can deal the 1 damage to each opponent and each creature they control. That's always nice as well. And then lastly, for the sideboard, we have Carnage Tyrant. Absolutely brutal, very popular card for a reason. And this because it's a 6 cost 7/6, which is already pretty solid for the fact that it also has the spell can't be countered. So if you're running into control problems, people using counter spells a lot, perfect for a massive creature. Plus it has trample and hexproof, which means it cannot be targeted by spells or abilities your opponents control, which means it can't be bounced by targeting effects. It can't be enchanted. It can be enchanted and targeted by you, but this thing is can be a game changer and a really solid card. So always liking this card in a green deck. So, well, anyway, guys, that is the review for this deck, and again, I will be doing some gameplay footage of all these decks I'll be uploading those with some commentary over them to let you guys know what I was thinking as I'm doing this and the situations I'm getting into. But as always, if you found this video informative, if it gives you any ideas for decks, feel free to leave a like and a comment if you want on any changes you would make, anything or any ideas you may get from them. I'm always up for new ideas. So anyway, guys, thank you for hanging out, and as always, I will see you in the next video. Later, guys.